Welcome to this week's What's for Dinner video. My name is Ashley. I'm going to be showing you 3 different meals I made this past week. I don't always follow recipes exactly, but if you're interested, I've linked some similar recipes down below. The first dinner I'm going to be showing you, I made some spicy Korean fried chicken with white rice and some roasted broccoli. So I'm starting out with about 2 large chicken breasts. I'm just going to trim these up, trim the fat off, and then cut these into small bite-sized pieces, probably about 1 inch thick all around. So I believe this is how the Chinese restaurants and Asian restaurants make their chicken. These will be battered and then fried in oil. So I already seasoned my flour and cornstarch mixture. I just mix a little bit of cornstarch and flour on a paper plate, and then I have 2 eggs and a little bit of milk in this bowl, and I'm just going to dredge them like this. I will do the egg first and then into the flour and cornstarch mixture and then into the bowl. So I did my best to try to do the one hand dry, the one hand wet method. I don't know if it worked out. I don't know if that's exactly what I'm doing, but this is just how I coated all of the chicken pieces. So while I work on the chicken, I have a pan with some oil heating up. I'm going to shallow fry this chicken in just a nice pan and then put them on a drying rack to cool. So I'm going to insert this clip of me making the sauce. This is just kind of a mixture of a lot of different elements. I am using some soy sauce, some hot chili sauce, and then this is some sweet chili sauce, some honey, and I mean lots of honey because you do want it pretty sweet. And then I'm using some hoisin sauce. This is kind of like a Chinese or Asian barbecue, a lot of people say. I'm going to mix this all together, and then I'm going to add a little bit of ginger. This is actually all to taste as well. You can add as much or as little of anything you want, and then you can kind of double the recipe if you want extra sauce. So next I'm going to fry the chicken in batches. You don't want to overcrowd the pan. I think I did about 3 batches in total. I just kind of plop each piece of chicken in there until I think the pan is nice and full, and then I'm going to let these fry up. So you do want them to get a little brown on the outside and make sure they are nice and cooked on the inside. You can also touch them with your finger. I tend to do that to see what the texture of the breading is. Is it hard or is it soft? So once they were my desired color and texture and they were nice and crispy on the outside, I just picked them up with a slotted spoon. That way I can drain the excess oil, and then I put them on a wire rack to cool. So now I'm going to work on my next batch and do the same thing for all of the batches that I do. So once these were done, I just removed them all, and then I ended up using a different pan actually. I am going to put the sauce in. I'm going to let this start cooking down. This will get thick and reduce just a little bit. Once it does and it's nice and hot, I'm just going to put every single piece of chicken in the sauce. Once everything was together, I just started mixing it. I realized I could have probably used a little bit more sauce. Maybe would have doubled the whole recipe or just added more of each kind of ingredient, but it was enough sauce for the chicken, but it wasn't too saucy, which we love. This is how everything looked when it was done. I just plated it with some white rice and some roasted broccoli. It was super good, and I just added some sesame seeds. Next dinner I'm going to be showing you, I made some pork schnitzel. I was pretty proud of this. This is the first time I've ever made fried pork, and it did turn out really well. I just made it with some mashed potatoes and gravy and some green beans. So I am starting out with my potatoes. I'm just using some gold Yukon potatoes, I believe, and I'm just going to chop these up into some nice sized chunks to boil. While the potatoes were boiling, I started working on the pork. This was actually bone-in pork chops, so I just cut around the bone to make them this size and boneless. I am just going to season both sides with the garlic lover seasoning from Flavor Gods, and then I'm just going to do the flour, egg, panko method of breading this. So I'm just going to bread both pieces of pork, and then I'm going to set them aside and let them rest for about 5 minutes. That way everything can kind of really adhere to the pork. So before I cook the pork, I'm going to get all the potatoes ready and mashed. I'm just using my mashed potato masher just to mash these all. I do have a hand mixer, but I've never really attempted or tried to actually use it to do mashed potatoes. I feel like I failed when I did that. Anyways, I'm just adding some milk. I'm going to add some sour cream and some seasonings like some garlic, some onion powder, some garlic powder, and then I realized at the end kind of that I didn't even add butter, so at that point I do add some butter in as well. I do like to keep my mashed potatoes fairly simple. I try not to add everything in my kitchen, in my refrigerator. I think less is always more. So I do have a little bit of oil heating up in that shallow pan that I'm going to fry these pork chops in. I just have my pan set on about a 4, that way it's almost medium heat but not quite. So I'm just going to fry these and cook these until the bottom side is nice and brown like this. Then I'm going to flip them, wait till the bottom side gets nice and brown again, and then put them on the wire rack to cool and rest. This is how everything turned out when it was done. Everything was so good, and fiance definitely loved this. Last dinner I'm going to be showing you is something I just made for myself. I was just cooking for myself this night, so I decided on something that I love and something that's super simple. I made some breakfast tacos. Since we are watching our girly figure over here, I just used 1 piece of bacon, 2 eggs, and 1/2 of an avocado for all 3 tacos together. So I am just going to cook this 1 piece of bacon till it's nice and crispy and my desired style of bacon, I guess. I don't like it too crispy. So once that was done, I just set that aside and I mixed 2 eggs together, and now I'm going to pour them into this pan. I did wipe out the bacon grease from the bottom of the pan and just sprayed it with some cooking spray in case you were wondering. So I'm just going to cook these 2 eggs until they are nice and scrambled. At the same time, I do have my 3 corn tortillas in my little toaster oven warming up. Usually in the morning, I will just use 2 tortillas instead of 3, but I guess this was for dinner. So I just assembled my tacos. I added some avocado on top and then lots and lots of hot sauce, and these were so good. Thank you so much for watching this week's What's for Dinner video. Make sure you come back next week for another one.